This was not something I was expecting to do. We're once again recording in like the middle of the night. Um, we went to see Justice League Warworld. It's part of the Tomorrowverse. I'm not the biggest fan of the universe, if I'm being completely honest, but I do think Man of Tomorrow is actually like a really good film. Go watch it. More good animated Superman.
We didn't just get
Um,
to watch it. Also, we got to see some of like the writers and the people who
yeah,
worked
so they
on
had
this
yes, they
universe.
had a 45-minute panel. Like,
If any of you guys are listening, hi.
yeah, we got the movie. So let's talk about the panel just for a brief second. So how did we feel about them? I mean, I didn't even know that these guys have been in the game for as long as they've been. I mean, we're talking 30 years for the executive producer, I believe
Yeah,
it was.
he name dropped Justice League Unlimited as if he'd worked on it.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, okay.
I was not there for the record, viewers.
Yes, he was
Again,
not there.
tier.
They seem like, I mean, I was just shocked because, these movies have been a little confusing to me. I'm like, why are these animated movies coming out? And once again, they need to be. I love animation. But why are these animated movies coming out and they're just like their own little corner and they're just like chilling? But it sounds like they're completely autonomous. They get told they can do whatever the hell they want to, which they clearly have because they've made some controversial choices with this universe. I think for the most part, it's all right where I'm getting at.
Well, they got to be in a very interesting position, because in the animated movie area, for one thing, yeah, these DC animated movies that are directly released,
Mhm.
used to be DVD, now it's probably pretty much digital. Um,
Or Comic Con,
I
if
think
you're cool enough.
I think yeah, if you're super cool and in on it, um, they've been like a staple of DC,
Hmm.
forever now. I can't imagine just a DC release schedule without these movies. But they're in an interesting point because now there's an endless amount of comic stories to adapt. That being said, you
Do we
know,
want to talk about what they are going to adapt?
we will.
I don't think it's a spoiler for this
No,
movie.
we will. We'll talk about it.
Well, let's talk about it now.
Well, I wanted to just say that the one thing is they have to create another shared DC universe when there's already been a whole new DC animated movie universe. There's the original DC AU. They got to find new ways to do things, and in some cases like this, original stories, to set themselves apart. And
Aren't
so,
they
Well, I think
aren't
we
they
should just
about to homogenize it into one big thing anyway?
yeah. So let's just talk about what they are doing. I think it's not a spoiler. I mean, it's completely separated from the movie. It wasn't even like
it's going to be announced as like the slate.
yeah. I mean,
Let's just
it's on the internet. I
go
know
ahead and say
it's on
it.
our Twitter page. So they are making an animated Crisis on Infinite Earths movie, which is just insane. That hasn't happened yet. I don't understand how.
I've thought about how weird it is that it hasn't existed
Yeah, I
yet.
Oh,
mean, my
dude, that's
hope
gonna
for it is that
rock.
it'd be like actual legitimate like Crisis. And I know we're done with the multiverse. I know we're done with it. But can you imagine if we got all of these DC animated universes, which are just so rich, culminating before the DCU? And we got
That'd be awesome.
and look, I know, I mean, James and I, the moment we thought about it, we just
How are you
went,
gonna do
oh,
that?
Kevin Conroy.
I was about to say it. How are you gonna do that without Kevin
Yeah,
Conroy?
instantly thought it.
Yeah, it's just the red
Man,
the elephant in the room. And I mean, it's
rest in
sad.
peace, King. Rest in peace.
They even mentioned him. They mentioned
They
him
did.
during the panel and just got like a roaring applause.
Not in relation to Crisis.
Not in relation to Crisis, but I still want them to do it. I think Kevin Conroy would. I think he loved the fan base and the properties so much that he would want them to continue with it. Would it be a little? I mean, obviously
I don't
it
want
would
them to
be,
like AI his voice though. I mean,
dude. Oh my
No,
God, I would lose my mind. I
I
would
would.
lose my mind.
I don't know what
I
I
would.
was
about all that.
I'd hope for a tribute.
yeah. I
I'd hope
just
for
think
some.
Batman just wouldn't be there.
I'd hope for some kind of
Oh,
tribute, or
Batman's gonna be there, man.
well, no, a tribute, or if they are going
They
to
can reuse the lines. I'm fine with that.
reuse lines or a nonverbal cameo.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna, because this is what
It's
kind
Crisis. It's gonna be
this is the big question. Are they going to be bringing in like the Teen Titans from their cartoon, the DCAU? Probably.
the
God help
DC
us.
animated movies.
God help
Yeah.
us, Teen Titans Go. I'm sure
It's a funny show.
those
Get
little.
over
I
yourself.
know. I'm joking.
Young Justice could be in there. They could bring in.
For the record, Teen Titans Go is funny, and it would be very funny for them to show up.
I mean, obviously
it's
these
alright.
movies would be in there. That would be awesome. And then the other animated movie that got thrown out there is Watchmen is getting an animated movie, which is just
That's overdue.
I can't believe that hasn't been done either.
Here
So
we are.
those are two movies to look forward to. They're coming both next year, I believe, if I remember that correctly. So we have more DC animated stuff to look forward to. So let's circle back to Justice League, what we're talking about. So I will just give my quick non-spoilery review of the film. Um, the film has a lot of great ideas. The um, directors behind the film and the writers talked about their ideas at length in the panel before, and you could tell that a lot of thought went into it, and a lot of them do get well executed. However, the first half of the movie is, in my opinion, significantly worse than the second half. Um, the ideas are just not as well thought out, in my opinion. If you don't know, the premise, James, can you just give us, separated from the movie, describe, because Mongul and Warworld are kind of a neglected part of DC. So give us the 15-second, what is this concept?
It's a giant sci-fi gladiator planet where Mongol, this bad guy, he captures people, he brings them in, he says, "All right, fight for entertainment," and that's kind of the gist of it. That's what Warworld is.
So-
it can take different shapes.
Yeah,
but
so
that's the general idea.
here Jim Lee, they mentioned it. Jim Lee wanted to play with the idea a little bit. So instead of it being like this gladiator kind of ordeal, and I think this is a really cool take on it. Instead, it is this like basically the characters, not the victims, prisoners of Warworld are forced to confront their fears basically, and their like the things that would bring out the most suffering in them, and that's like what powers the planet, which is really cool.
Intense.
Yeah. So what this is, once again, this sounds like an awesome concept, but I just don't think the execution of it was the best. So it's basically a Trinity movie. It's not a Justice League movie.
It's not. It's a
And
Trinity movie.
It was really cool to see the Trinity. Like we always get Batman and Superman, but we never get the Trinity completely focused on. So I thought that was really cool. But it puts the Trinity members in distinct environments, which are kind of antithetical to the fiber of their characters. So Wonder Woman is thrown into a Western environment, which is kind of fun, but a little lackluster in my opinion. Batman is thrown into a barbaric environment, kind of like a Conan sort of thing, which makes complete sense. That's the environment that, I mean, it makes sense. Batman would despise that. And then Clark is thrown into this noir environment about this investigation against an alien, which kind of plays into his fear of not fitting in on Earth, which, my opinion, is definitely the best of those kind of anthology. I mean, they describe the movie as basically an anthology. It still builds, but as it builds, it gets better. So if you're not enjoying the first half of this movie, I would definitely watch the second half if you're already playing it. But I mean, I just hate to say it, I was just a little bored in the first half. It didn't grab me. I mean, James, what do you think?
So just section by section, Wonder Woman and the Western stuff. I actually enjoyed a fair bit.
I mean, it's still Western Wonder Woman. It's still kind of like
It was
such
just-
a cool
it was just cool.
gimmick.
You know, it was just cool. By that point, the movie, it was holding my attention. Just fun action. I don't really have too much else to say on the Wonder Woman part, other than it was a good time. The Batman part was where I was starting to get to this point. I was like, okay, I want to know where the movie's going here. I kind of just want to start, tipping its, showing its hand. As far as how the barbarian section just was,
It was definitely the weakest.
well, there was just some writing for Bruce
Yes.
that struck me weird, and the reason for that
There is
is
a very just, I hate to say like misunderstanding, because the movie
Uh-oh.
like does like there are multiple times in this movie where Batman like is given a gun and he just like throws it away.
Well,
It's
yeah.
hilarious.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and I'll get into
but
it just a little bit.
I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a moment in this section that is like a misunderstanding of Batman, and it's just like I'm like,
Jacob,
dude, come on, man.
Jacob,
What?
would I have liked the Batman in this movie?
Well, he's played by Jensen.
Jensen.
No, not
Ackles.
He was-
like how he is. Like
The
the way
writing.
the way he's understood and written. Would I have
Well,
jived?
it's like an anachronism. This scene, it's like it just happens. It doesn't contribute anything to the plot. It isn't in line with his characterization. It's not like a purposeful thing.
Here's
Or
what
it's like-
I want to know what this is. Now
It's
I'm
not-
rooting for a spoiler section.
It's not like a purposeful thing where it's like they are trying to deconstruct Batman or anything. It's just like this weird misplay, it seems. It just seems like a very it's like a hiccup. The movie establishes that while they have forgotten their memories, they haven't forgotten like the core of
Their
them.
core character. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Their
like-
core attributes. They
they-
have these gut feelings.
Yeah,
They're
they
like,
have like these intrinsic traits that are just like, yes, there is no Clark Kent without that. There's no Bruce without that. There's no Diana without that. And then there's just this one scene where Batman just does this like, it's just
All
like,
right, what is it? Can we please?
okay.
You're killing me.
So
All right,
let's just get into spoilers because we
Yeah.
really can't talk about the rest of the movie without
the rest of the movie, we have to talk about spoilers.
So-
let's go for it.
In the Batman section, he is accompanied by this barbaric dude. I don't know
Okay.
who he is. He's kind of a nobody.
I thought he was Slade Wilson for.
I thought he was Slade. I thought I don't know.
He's
But,
just Gorak,
but-
or Ravager, or whatever.
yeah,
Like,
but they go through this like Minotaur maze where there's like this
Yeah.
like Minotaur ghoul chasing them, and they're handcuffed together because like Bruce was like technically a prisoner in this context, and Bruce ends up getting to the other side of the gate, and this prisoner guy does not. So the barbarian gives Bruce the key to unlock the chain so that he can get to the other side. And the barbarian gives Bruce the key, and then he's like, all right, now let me through. And Bruce is like, no, I'm not gonna save you.
yeah, they did
And
like a
then-
Raiders of the Lost Ark, like
What?
throwing
No,
this guy
they just did a Batman Begins, where it's like, I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm not gonna save you.
No,
Wait,
yeah,
it's just
I
is this
think-
barbarian like a bad dude, or is he just like a
No,
random?
not really. I mean,
It's actually, I think, worse than that because he does like a smirk.
yeah, it's just like this.
It's kind of like a sorry, my priority is
Man.
and you're dead. And it comes across
And
like
then-
it's this Batman who is around so much death that it doesn't quite ring with him as much. He doesn't have his trauma.
But I don't understand because this movie understands the core traits of these characters so well. It is a theme of this movie. It is clearly something they were paying attention to. And then there's just this weird scene that it just, I mean, I'm not trying to be too nitpicky about it, but it was like completely contradictory to the objective of this film. I think it definitely took me out of it a little bit.
For a second.
Let's just move on though. There's not much really
It's
to
just
say.
an odd moment.
It's just an odd moment. It's weird. If it stumps you when you watch the movie, then it stumped us too. You're not alone.
But we'll move on to the section that I think is the strongest part of the movie.
Which I mean is a given because Superman's in it. So the third chapter of the film focuses on Superman. He is like a noir. He's in like this noir 50s environment, which is really cool.
He's Clark too.
He's Clark.
Kent, and he thinks he's Clark Kent.
Yeah, he doesn't know that he's Superman. So we watch him investigate this alien sighting. And of course, it's like in this Warworld like challenge. Basically, it's getting at the subconscious of his fears and his anxiety over being an alien and not fitting in on Earth. And he watches these humans react to this alien sighting, and they want to go kill it, and they're threatened by it. And it really understands Superman. It was definitely the most engaging part of the film. It's just the best written part. It's black and white. It's just really cool. I mean, eventually this film is releasing on digital next week, so go watch that part. You can watch it in a bottle. That's the cool thing about this movie.
You pretty much can. And actually, like,
I mean, I think
any breadcrumbs to the first part, you don't need the first
Yeah.
two.
I personally think that this movie would have just worked way better as an arc in like a Justice League TV show.
It feels like 3 episodes strung together.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a movie.
Which is fine. I
I
mean,
mean,
it's inherently a bad thing.
They got to do what they wanted, and I'm glad for that. But it does feel a little disjointed, a little inconsistent. Like they were talking about the production of the film, and they're like, "Yeah, I took this part, and then Jim took this part," and I'm like, I kind of like it was a bit of a red flag for me because I'm like, that sounds really unorganized. A cool concept, but I think it definitely detracted a little bit. And then the last third of this film is the confrontation on Warworld. They're back as themselves. It's revealed that Mongul had strapped Martian Manhunter to this like device thing and was basically like mind control. So the last part of this movie shows us Warworld. James, what did you think about it?
I enjoyed it. Honestly, I thought that the kind of third quarter of the movie was stronger. I feel like
The movie definitely gets better as it goes.
when you finally show Warworld and it's kind of played off as this twist that everything's been a bit of a simulation. I thought that we'd see more of Warworld than like a hallway and a courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like
They didn't really like get into the setting as much as I
you
wanted to.
kind of didn't get to learn about Mongul.
Mhm.
You didn't really get to learn about Mongul through seeing how harsh of a world he's created. It almost feels like he's just in a lab rather than a whole planet.
Yeah.
They kind of talk about how Warworld is like one of the greatest threats ever, but you don't really see it at all. So that was kind of a disconnect for me. I kind of feel like it's almost like they ran out of time.
Yeah.
And I feel
Which
like
is weird in a movie that I felt dragged.
and yeah, Mongol just because there was really no time to see Warworld, you really didn't get to know Mongol. I mean, it was a good,
Yeah,
it was a good voice actor performance.
I was
But
disappointed by that. I mean, I'm a big Mongol fan, and I was actually like this movie was on my radar a little bit, and I wanted to see Mongol kind of have the limelight because I mean, even in the panel they were like, "Yeah, Mongol hasn't been touched in 40 years," and I thought that was really funny.
yeah,
So with that said, I just found it a little weird how I hate to use the word neglect, but it just felt like for a movie where he is like the titular character, because I mean, him and the world are one and the same. It just felt like he was a little underserved.
yeah, it just maybe just felt like it maybe could have made, especially the first two segments, maybe a
Trim.
bit shorter, trim them down, and make more room for Mongol to really go against these three heroes.
Yeah, if there's anything I have to say about this movie, it just feels like they had some really they got together, they had a vision for the movie, and they really had fun with the vision that they built, and they said, you know what, we're gonna make this. And I think maybe if they just killed their darlings a little bit more, this movie might have been a little bit better. I think it was still good. I think it had good ideas. I will say, as far as my recommendation goes, if you're a DC fan, check it out. If you're not, I don't think you're going to get much out of this. I think it's clearly tailoring to the most passionate of fans for the IP. It didn't blow me away. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Speaking of the most passionate fans, this movie does the absolute best thing ever by having more Martian Manhunter content.
That is true.
So for that reason, I have to give it a 10 out of 10.
What did you add? What was
A,
your
ve- a
actual grade?
very
What I actually give it
objective, unbiased 10 out of 10.
unbiased. It understands that Martian Manhunter is the most important character. However, actual opinion. Actual opinion is it was fun. I haven't watched some of these DC animated movies as much as I talked about how much I care about them. I got a bit burnt out.
Yeah, I'm a bit burnt
I
out
like
too.
the ones that are varied, that they actually like adapt a story and adapt the visual style.
I mean, I'm excited for the next two coming up though.
Yeah.
I actually am gonna watch those.
But as far as finally tapping back into the shared movie universe stuff that they do, I had fun with this. I did.
What would you give it out of 10?
Out of 10, I'd give it a 6. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I liked seeing an original story.
Yeah,
I'd probably
I mean,
go,
I think
I'd go a billion out of 10 here.